Everything's on fire. Everything's on fire. Everything's on fire.
I concur.
Welcome back to the Dynasty HeatSeekers live streaming podcast. Technical difficulties abound to start the night, so hopefully everything goes smooth from now on. But tonight I'm here with Jason Abold, Rob Silvers, and Anthony Leone to talk some Dynasty buys and sells. So first off, how you guys doing? Jason, you got that perfect hair, man, I tell you.
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Fantastic.
I'm doing great.
Rob sounds thrilled to be here.
Rob is very tired today.
Yeah.
I had a long 5-hour county commissioner meeting today, so whew,
Yeah.
it'll suck the juice right out of you.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of fun, but we're going to get right into this so we can get this over with. Obviously, we're about a half hour late. I'm having computer issues here, so hopefully it'll hold up for us. But first off, we're going to get into some news and notes, and this week there's been no news bigger than Patrick Mahomes' 10-year, $503 million deal, $477 million of it guaranteed with some mechanisms, and I haven't heard all of those mechanisms, but the dude's getting paid. And if you own any Kansas City assets, this has got to make you feel pretty good fantasy-wise. Any thoughts there, Anthony?
No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, he got paid. There are a lot of outs, and I don't know if he'll really be on the team for 10, 12 years. But, yeah, if you have, Tyreek Hill and Kelsey and all those guys, Mecole Hardman, I mean, you got to be really happy right now.
Any thoughts there, Jason?
Yeah, the best player in the league just got paid. So, I mean, it's a great signing, I think. And I think he's going to be there for a long time. And, I mean, there's a reason why they signed him. So, I mean, they believed in him. They drafted him very high. And let's see what happens.
Rob, what are you thinking?
I think it's going to set him up an interesting cap space situation moving forward for sure. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out when we see the final details. I think they're kind of tight right now. So, but of course, this deal really probably shouldn't affect that too much, being as it's an extension. So his numbers should kind of hold pat here.
Yeah, and rumors are that it's tied to the salary cap and will raise with the salary cap. So it'll be a percentage. So if they do it that way, then they might have more luck than, say, like the Rams did with their big contracts, because it's never going to be more than that certain amount of percentage of the cap, which would definitely help with filling that entire roster. But I haven't seen all those details yet either. What other news and notes we got there? Somebody got them pulled up. I'm trying to fix a couple more things here.
Yeah, well, David Njoku calling for or asking for a trade, trying to get out of that situation in Cleveland where he seems to have been underused, and of course they brought in Austin Hooper as well this offseason.
Yeah, what are your thoughts there, Anthony?
Well, I did a TikTok video at RotoHeat. You guys can search that and find my thoughts more specifically on that. But I think it makes sense. Hooper's in there now, and I'm sure he's looking like, hey, I need some more opportunities here. And so I think that it makes sense to trade him. I think if they can find the right partner to do that, it makes sense. I think the Cardinals, for me personally, made the most sense, just because their best tight end right now is Max Williams. So I think that would be a interesting fit. So yeah, I mean, I hope he gets dealt. I think he has a lot of upside, and if you still have him on your team, I think I would certainly just try to wait to see if he is dealt before just letting him lose.
Yeah, the problem with Arizona is that they're so wide receiver heavy. Their offense is wide receiver heavy, and they don't really utilize that tight end. But I mean, this late in the offseason, there's not a lot of great spots for anybody to go to. Jason, did you have any thoughts there on Njoku?
Yeah, the guy's still young. I mean, he deserves, another shot at, getting on a different team. I think they should move him as soon as possible. It's only going to hurt him if they keep him around and just don't play him. I mean, he'd probably just be more of a team cancer of anything. But, yeah, I see him probably going to, Arizona or Jacksonville or something like that is in desperate need of some other help,
What else we got there on news and notes?
Well, we have the Players Association voting unanimously for no preseason games. I think that's been talked about a lot over the last couple of years, cutting back, but now they're talking with the COVID risk here, no preseason.
Any thoughts there, Jason?
I mean, it makes sense, but I'm sure the players aren't going to like it at all. I think they want to get in there. They've been having their private workouts with their quarterback and whatnot. So these guys are itching to get back on the field, and I don't blame them. I mean, I want to watch football. I think we all do. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're real keen on preseason games. Most of the guys that matter don't play very much anyway. But the less preseason games, then maybe we can get that extra game or two in the regular season in time.
I think a lot of roster bubble guys might really want to get out on the field though for preseason games. I mean, it's a lot of those guys that aren't going to make the roster need to prove that they are going to make the roster. I mean, obviously guys like Tyreek Hill and Kelsey aren't going to want to play in the preseason games, but there's a lot of guys that I think do want to get out there. I do think for Dynasty, it's going to be difficult to really gauge the rookies that we've drafted in our leagues, in our rookie drafts. We're not going to really see them on the field a lot, and it's going to be a lot different than past seasons. So it's just something just to kind of keep in mind as you're progressing through the pre and regular season.
All right. Any last news and notes so we can get into the important part of this?
I don't know. Anybody have anything they wanted to say regarding AB working out with Russ Wilson a little bit?
I mean, the only thing I can say is that if he gets back on the field, then he's one of the most dangerous wide receivers in the league. And if he's paired with a quarterback like Russell Wilson, there's no reason why that guy can't be a wide receiver one again. And I think he's going to play again. It's been real quiet on the AB drama front for quite a while now. Maybe they figured out some stuff. Maybe they got him some medicine when he got arrested, or something like that. But it's I mean, whatever it is, it's like it kind of turned on like the super crazy stuff. Like he was always kind of a personality, but he went from 0 to 100 real fast, and then from 100 to 0 real fast again. So, if nothing comes of the legal battles, then I don't see why he won't be back on the field. Maybe with some suspension, but if he's paired with a quarterback like Russell Wilson, watch out. Because that boy's still in shape if you watch those videos. That dude has always worked hard, even if he's a little nutty.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting if he signs there. What impact that would have on the other guys on that team, the DK Metcalfs and Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Anthony.
No, I was just gonna say, for Dynasty, if you have AB, you gotta hold him. You gotta hope for the best. And I've tried to buy him in a couple spots. No one's selling him. Like there's too much upside. So I think he's just a guy you just gotta hold him if you have him, and just kind of hope for the best.
Yeah, he's a league winner if he plays. Like he can literally win you your championship. And if you paid for him, I think you paid too much to just give him away at this point until we have some sort of knowledge on what's going to happen with him. But I mean, I see him being back on the field, so hopefully that'll be the case because he's fun to watch. All right, so make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell on whatever platform you're watching or listening on. We appreciate you guys coming in and taking the time to spend some time with us and talking about Dynasty. And if you got questions, drop them in the chat, and at the end of the show, we will answer those. But, first off, Rob, you got our first Dynasty buy. This is a player that people were really high on, and then for some reason, a year later, the guy's very cheap. So why don't you tell us about your first buy there?
Yeah, well, my first buy is going to be in Keel Harry with the Patriots. Obviously, not a very good first season. It didn't go the way you were hoping, because you probably took him as your top wide receiver off the board in a lot of places, in a lot of drafts last year. But he had just 24 targets and 12 receptions, 105 yards. But he did get 2 touchdowns on those 12 receptions. So that was pretty good to see. Obviously, he loses Tom Brady in the offseason, but he's now picked up Cam Newton. But the reason this guy has been a buy for me, and I wrote about him all the way back in April on RotoHeat, Bill Belichick has taken just one wide receiver in the first round as the Patriots head coach, and it's in Keel Harry. And he's just the 5th taken in the top 75 picks. Obviously, Julian Edelman on the other side is getting older. Mohamed Sanu's older, and has a defined role for where he's going to play. I mean, Harry excels in contested catches. He was 1st among draft-eligible wide receivers last year and 7th in yak per reception last year. So I think if Belichick likes him enough to take him in the first round, he's a guy you want to be out buying.
My only counter to that would be that was the same thing that we were told about Sony Michel when he was drafted at running back by the Patriots, and that hasn't worked out the way we would hope so far. But I agree, though. The thing for me is last year he was the number 1 wide receiver in the rookie class. He didn't play very much. Like, we didn't see anything, so we don't know whether he's good or bad. Yet now I seen him getting traded for mid-seconds in all the RotoHeat drafts this year, which is just crazy to me. Obviously, even if he would have played and not played well, you can't knock a rookie wide receiver after their rookie season, because it takes time for them to get going anyway, and especially in a complex system like New England. Any thoughts there, Anthony?
I think he's a good buy. I agree with you. If you can get him for like a mid-second, I'd be happy about that. It looks like since Cam Newton came to town that his value has gone up right now, and so he's a little bit harder to get right now. But I think he certainly has the upside. A lot of people are kind of writing him off, even though he didn't really play much last year. So yeah, I think he's a great buy. I agree with Rob. I think he's someone to target for sure. It's
weird that Cam's making a wide receiver's value go up. But,
right.
Jason.
Yeah, he's a buy for sure. I bought him in a few leagues already. He was injured, to begin the season as a rookie, and then when he got back, they fed him the ball. They wanted to get him the ball as much as possible, and they're just finding ways. So he's a great player. I think he's got a lot of potential.
All right, Anthony, you are second up. Who is your first buy?
Cole Hardman. Love this guy. Loved him last year when the Chiefs took him in the draft. They traded up for him. They were kind of concerned they weren't going to have Tyreek Hill, but even still, Cole Hardman really pulled through. I think they got him in the second round. I think he easily could have been taken in the first round after what we've seen from him. One of the fastest wide receivers in the league last year, and especially now with Mahomes getting locked down, I think this is someone that certainly the Chiefs are going to really kind of build their offense around. They paid Mahomes. We don't know exactly who's going to be able to get a 40. I don't know if Tyreek Hill is going to get a huge deal or not down the line. Mecole Hardman can certainly fit that bill. And I think that at this point in time, with his ADP kind of where it is right now, I think he's a great buy and someone certainly to have on your benches right now.
Anybody on the other side of that? Anybody not wanting to buy him?
Nope.
Nope, I want him everywhere.
No. I'm on the opposite side. I not necessarily don't want him, but I'm not going to go out of my way to buy him. I don't know that he's ever going to be consistent enough for me to feel comfortable putting him in my lineup, especially as long as Tyreek Hill's there. So that would be my only thing against him. I don't think he's bad, but owning him's not going to be a bad thing. I'm just not going out of my way to purchase him because I feel like people add value to players simply because of Patrick Mahomes, and I don't want to pay for that until I see him do it for multiple years like Tyreek Hill has. But I think he's a great best ball asset for sure. Jason, you are up with our third player.
My player to buy is Nick Chubb. He's got a top 5 potential. He's got a new coach. The guy loves to run the ball. You got the presence of Hunts, but he's just going to be more of a satellite back in my opinion. I don't think he's going to take many carries away from Chubb, but if you can acquire him and combine him with your other RB1, that's something that's going to put you over the top and probably win your league.
Anybody on the opposite side of Nick Chubb?
I am. I wouldn't buy Chubb right now. I would wait. If you want Chubb, in my opinion, I would just wait till week 6, week 7 after Hunt is taking carries, is getting involved, and Chubb's value kind of decreases a little bit. I don't see the true value of taking him right now when his value is as high as it is. So I would wait. I don't think Hunt's going to be there next year. So if you do buy him now, I think it's safe to do that. But I would try to wait till his value is a little bit lower than it is right now after a few weeks of him not getting running back 1 numbers every week.
Yeah, if we're talking PPR, I'm not paying his price. There's no way. It's very rare that running backs that catch the ball as little as him finish high up in the running back rankings, and where he's valued at is just too high for me. And with Kareem Hunt in Cleveland for this year, I feel like a full season, Chubb's going to lose value this year, and possibly next year would be his buying point. But if we're talking PPR, I want running backs that are going to catch the ball, 45 to 50 times minimum. At the value that you're going to have to pay for a guy like Nick Chubb. Any thoughts there, Silvers, real quick before we move?
Yeah, I'd be hesitant to buy him too for all the reasons you guys have mentioned. The one thing is, Kevin Stefanski coming over from a really run-heavy offense in Minnesota, run first. The question is that the offense that he really, truly wants to run? And if so, Chubb's value maybe holds where it's at, but I don't think it can get any higher. But if that was more of a Mike Zimmer offense, what he wanted to do than what Stefanski wanted to do, then again, that just plays right into Hunt's hand.
All right, and my first buy, I gotta look at is Tyler Boyd. So I was looking at our ADP, and this guy's going in the 5th round. Coming off a season where he had got an extension and then just quarterback issues throughout the season last year, and everybody's high on Joe Burrow. So if we're high on Joe Burrow, why aren't we a little bit higher on Tyler Boyd? PPR monster. We've seen that he was better with Green on the field in the past, with Dalton healthy, we'll say that. And now they also added, and now I'm drawing a blank.
T. Higgins.
T. Higgins. They've added some more weapons, right? And that offense should be better. That offensive line should be at least a little bit improved. This offense should be improving going into 2020. And Tyler Boyd is their main guy. Like AJ Green's still there, but AJ Green's old and has not been able to stay healthy for a little while. We don't even know. Last year was like a complete mystery. We thought he was going to be back in like week 3, and then the next thing we know, he didn't play the whole season. But I think with an offense going up and with a 5th, 6th round draft price, getting a guy that's as young as him, under contract, tied to a quarterback that people seem to think is going to be very, very good. This is a guy that should be catching 100 to 110 balls year in and year out. And I think that's definitely worth. I would probably be comfortable drafting him late 3rd round. So you've got about a 2 to 3 round difference depending on what draft you're in, from where I would be comfortable drafting him. So I think he's definitely a buy right now, and I think he's got room to improve on that value. Anybody opposite me on that one?
Well, I don't think he's quite a buy. I mean, I think he's okay at his current value. I would never draft him in the 3rd, 4th round myself, personally. I think that the Bengals made a statement. When they went and drafted T. Higgins in the early 2nd, I mean, it's basically a 1st-round pick, right? I think they were 33rd, right? It was the 1st pick of the 2nd round. I don't think they have faith in Boyd to be that guy. So
Boyd isn't that guy, though. Boyd's a slot guy. T. Higgins is an outside guy. I don't think that.
So you're gonna value Boyd as a 3rd round startup, kind of a anchor on your team. I mean, I think he's a fine like flex play on a team. Wide receiver 3. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy him personally, but maybe he turns into a guy that gets 100 and 110 catches a season. I don't see that in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't think that T. Higgins speaks on Tyler Boyd at all. They're completely different wide receivers. Anybody else have thoughts on Tyler Boyd?
No, I agree. I agree with Rick. I definitely think he's a 110 catch guy. I mean, you got to remember, last year he had what was it, Jeff Driscoll? Is that who was throwing passes as the back?
Yeah, and Ryan Finley for a period of time.
Ryan Finley, and I mean, the guy caught 90 balls from half of them from 2 quarterbacks who can't throw the ball very well for an NFL starting caliber quarterback. They weren't that. He's got that defined role. He's gone over 1,000 yards in back-to-back years. He's trusted by that team. I think he's definitely he's a guy that I'm buying in places. So I like him a lot.
Jason, any other thoughts there?
I think he's a buy. Yeah, he's going to get plenty of opportunity, and he, like you said, there's no one else really there besides AJ Green that's solidified, and he's even coming off injury, and we don't really know what we have in him. So I like it.
All right, Rob, we're back around to your second buy. Just so everybody knows, we are doing 2 buys apiece. If you have any questions, make sure you drop those in the chat. We will get them at the end of this segment.
All right, my second buy is Paris Campbell with the Colts. Another guy whose rookie year was derailed by injury. He had that broken foot. But when he came back and was playing late in the season, the thing that the Colts coaches talked a lot about was throughout his entire injury, he was involved, committed to staying involved in the game plans, learning the schemes. And when he came back on the field, he was playing all 3 wide receiver positions for them as a rookie. And doing them, not just playing them because they didn't have anybody else to throw out there, but playing them, as the wide receiver coach said, running the routes at a high level, knowing where to go, where to be. And so that just builds towards his success. Phil Rivers, it's an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett for sure, even though he's at the back end of his career. But I really like where Paris Campbell's future is going. T.Y. Hilton's getting older. He's not going to be around a long time, so Campbell has a good chance to pair with Michael Pittman to be a nice duo for a long time here coming up.
Anybody opposing him on the Paris Campbell sign? Buy. I don't even know words anymore.
No,
Nobody's
not this
opposed.
Time.
I'm not
No,
opposed.
at his price value,
I'm
sure.
that would be my thing, right? Like, I'm not a Paris Campbell fan. I don't see him being like a superstar, but at his price, you're not hurting yourself if you miss and he doesn't pan out. So, not really arguing, but just not going out of my way again to grab him. All right, Anthony, you are up. Who is somebody editing our sheet right now?
Yeah, Robert's playing around with it, but yeah, my second buy is Jamison Crowder, PPR king. I love Crowder. With Darnold last year, he averaged 14 points per game, so fantasy points per game. So a lot of he's only 27. Hopefully Darnold plays a full season, doesn't get mono again, or who knows what Darnold can do. But I really do think Crowder, at his value right now, I mean, I just think he's a great wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 for your lineup. And certainly I don't think people value him that high. So I think that he's a guy to grab in leagues for sure.
I just gotta say that, I don't feel like they can feel very comfortable with him because they brought in the human predator and drafted Denzel Mims. So how comfortable can they feel about him?
Well, as you know, Mims is not the type of PPR type, underneath receiver.
Neither of them are. I just wanted to point out that your argument for Boyd kind of goes hand in hand here with Crowder. I like Boyd. I like those PPR guys.
Look at the difference in price point. I mean, you can't. I mean, look at the difference.
One's also got Adam Gase as a head coach right now and has been very inconsistent in his career. The other one, since his rookie year, has been fairly consistent with adequate quarterback play. So that would be my only argument between those two and why one's cheaper than the other. But I would be happy to have Crowder at his price. So I was just more giving you a hard time about your your previous argument. Anybody else? Jamison Crowder. Anybody opposed to it?
Yeah, I'm not really a Crowder. Oh, all right.
Sorry about that.
That was the wrong take to have.
Obviously didn't like his take there.
My apologies.
Attacked by the dog for having a bad take.
I'm not okay. I'll go then. So I'm not a huge Crowder fan, but a lot of it is that just biased because 2017 when he got hurt after having a good year, thought he was going to have that breakout at age 24 with Washington in year 3, and he just kind of fizzled out. Only started 6 games, had some injury stuff. It got worse the next year, and I kind of got rid of him. And so, last year he had a nice bounce back. But just with all the trouble in New York and Crowder's past history, was some nagging injuries and stuff there, and only, like I said, starting 13 games combined, 2017 and 2018 when he should have been breaking out. I just don't feel comfortable spending a whole lot on him. It's got to be a very friendly deal for me to go buy him.
He does disappear a lot. Jason, did you have any opinions on Crowder?
I mean, I buy him if the price is right, but I mean, the Jets are going to be probably throwing a lot, so he's going to get plenty of share there. So, I wouldn't overpay for him or anything, but I mean, he could be worth it. He could be a wide receiver 3 for you, or wide receiver 4, or a flex play when your guys are on a bye. So, yeah.
All right, Jason. Well, who's your second?
My second is David Montgomery. He had 242 carries his rookie season, and they showed they wanted to give him the ball. I mean, he was number 6 last year in goal line carries and number 8 in avoided tackles. You got Tariq Cohen there though, but he's a satellite back. He's going to be lining up in the slot, I see, and I mean their O line kind of scares me a little bit, but they're having probably projected better quarterback play. But if you can acquire him and get a RB2, you'll have a lot of high volume and the price is going to be good. I mean he's gonna produce for you.
Anybody opposing him?
No, not really. Just I mean, like Jason said, he's a starting back, and that means something. There's value there, but I think his rookie year was very disappointing, as was the whole Chicago team last year. I mean, 242 carries, like Jason mentioned, he only averaged 3.7 yards a carry. That's not very good. Under 900 yards with that many carries, just 6 touchdowns. But it was a bad Chicago offense. Hopefully, with Nick Foles and some other things, there's going to be some improvement there, some positive regression, as they say, and maybe things will look a little bit better. But as a starting running back, that's inherent value for a guy who's going to get 240-ish touches throughout the season.
Yes. So first thing I'll touch on is when Mitch Trubisky is your quarterback, all the opposing defense has to do is stop the run. When your offensive line's bad and your quarterback is Mitch Trubisky and the opposing defense only has to stop the run, it makes it fairly easy. It was disappointing. I was very high on David Montgomery coming out, but the offensive line were going into the season healthy, hopefully. There were a lot of injuries there. The offensive line's not as bad as it played. There's more talent there when healthy. Nick Foles, you have to at least give a little bit of respect to. Whereas last year we were playing with one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, and you didn't have to respect the passing game at all. So I see an improvement, and also, yes, he had the 242 carries, but the Nagy's play calling was very, very inconsistent for the majority of last year. And I think David Montgomery is one of them running backs that, Cedric Benson, an ex-Bear, and Packer for a period of time. But he was a guy that, as the game went on, he got better as he beat that defense down. And the Bears didn't really give consistent carries to Montgomery last year like they had given to Howard in the previous few seasons. So hopefully the play calling improves too, because that'll help him. And he is better in the passing game than what was shown last year as well, because they didn't utilize him that way very much. And if they're going to split Cohen out, then maybe he gets more involved in the passing game as well. But yes, I agree that he's a buy. He's just really cheap right now. Jason, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I want to acquire him everywhere I can. If the guy's trying to sell him, then, the phones are going to be ringing.
All right. Well, this last buy on our list is a guy that when I looked at the ADP, I was stunned of where he was at. 2 years ago, James Conner was one of the top backs in the NFL. Last year, he had some injuries, and what we found out was not a running back on that Pittsburgh team can run the ball. They can all catch the ball out of the backfield. None of them could run the ball. James Conner is still the top back in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh produces top fantasy running backs year in and year out. I mean, like 50-year-old D'Angelo Williams, when he filled in for Le'Veon Bell, was like a top 6 back in fantasy. And James Conner is going, I think he was 90 overall in Dynasty ADP. There are not 89 players in this league that I would take over him for fantasy football. When we're talking about running back and only being concerned about this year or next year. So he was the easiest buy out of all the players that I looked at that value. If he's really going there in drafts, like, you are getting a smash deal. And I think it's possible because I got him for like $43 in a $1,000 auction. That's just too cheap for a guy that's still young and is the lead back on a team that we know produces running backs. Anybody opposing me on James Conner?
Yeah, I'm not a James Conner fan. I think he just has durability concerns for me. Again, starting running backs, there's a value there, but I don't see him as a guy who's going to handle. He reached 215 touches in 2018, but I just don't know that the durability's there for him to exceed that. I also think his 2018 was buoyed by the fact that he had 12 touchdowns. So, I mean, I think his numbers were a little inflated there for a guy who only ran for 970 yards. Those are very different stats. Nick Chubb had 14 touchdowns last year running for 1,500 yards. So, I mean, that's a big difference. So I think a large part of his scoring came from touchdowns. But, like you said, for the 1 year option, it works, but I'd be looking to start him, get a fast start, and get rid of him personally.
Anybody else have any thoughts there on James Conner?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Rob. I mean, I think he's a buy at the right price. I think we all can agree on that concept. But if he has a good 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 weeks, I'm going to look to sell him as soon as I can. And I know Rob ended with that. That's exactly my thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, I think the value's there. So, I mean, I buy him. Pittsburgh does produce, and they like to run the ball a lot. So that's the guy I'm looking to get.
And they use those running backs in multiple facets. And, I mean, at an 8th round value, like, even if he's a back-end running back 2, you've smashed. Because I'm drafting in the 6th round right now, and the running backs are gone. So, if you can get him that late, it's just the value's there. Even if you don't love him, like, he's not like, I'm not like enamored by him in any way. I don't think he's like going to be a running back, top 6 running back, but getting him in the 9th round is just too cheap.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a good point. When you're drafting and you're getting him there in the draft, that's different than, sitting in a situation and trying to look to acquire him, I think. And at that value, at that point in the draft, yes, that's a smash. Hit that, get that guy who can be even if he is a back-end RB2, like you said, going to be solid. It's just hard for me to want to buy him in something that's not a startup, because I feel like the value's not there trading for him, for me.
I typically, okay, and when I look at this, obviously, I haven't looked to see how many people have sold him or done this or that, but you can't, when you're looking at like a public perception of them, if he's going in the 9th round, his price can't be that bad. Like, even if, and still, if you think he's going to be an RB2 for 1 to 2 years, I mean, if you're, obviously this is also if you're competing, if you're rebuilding, you're not going after James Conner. You're looking to win a championship, right? So if you give up a 7th round value for him, then that would still be good if it helps you win the championship. That would be my only thing. Okay, so our dynasty buys, we start off with N'Keal Harry, McCole Hardman, Nick Chubb, Tyler Boyd, Paris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, David Montgomery, James Conner. Really quick, and this has got to be quick. You can't say a whole bunch about them, but Jason, do you have an honorable mention that you would have picked?
Yeah, my guy would be Tony Pollard. He's sitting behind Zeke, but the guy has performed when he's on the field, and I think he's going to be on the field a lot coming up this year.
All right, Anthony.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier today. David Johnson. I still think he has a couple years in the tank. And I think at his value, just like you're talking about with James Conner, with the same value, you can get a 3-down back, similar situation. David Johnson's my guy.
Rob.
My guy's Alexander Madison with Delvin Cook talking to hold out, and the Vikings loving to run the ball. I mean, he's got a chance if Cook does hold out to put up some very good numbers.
My guy would be Anthony Miller, Chicago Bears, new quarterback. We saw Trubisky miss him a number of times. Anthony was in the team chat last year during football season and could probably tell you that I said many cuss words. I probably made up some cuss words when I was pissed off because I've obviously been very high on Anthony Miller since they drafted him, and Mitchell Trubisky missed him just too many times. And then we saw a 5-game stretch last year where Anthony Miller balled out, and when Trubisky wasn't horrible. And that's the upside that we see with Anthony Miller. So he's still cheap, and I think you can snag him up for the right price.
Good.
All right. We are going to get to our sells, and we are also going to do 2 each. But first, somebody in the chat asked, do you take Campbell over Michael Pittman? And since Rob, Paris was your guy, what is your answer there?
No, I don't. I think Pittman has the size, the ability to be kind of that alpha wide receiver position, but Paris is going to be that, I think more of a PPR guy and a short target guy, and he's got the speed to catch something short and run. Pittman's going to be your touchdown guy, though. So I mean, it's what you need. If I were ranking them, Pittman's higher.
Okay, Pittman for me. Short answers. Jason.
I agree. Pittman all the way.
Anthony.
Pittman, and it's not even close.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we are going to get on to our sells, and I feel like my first one, I had a couple that I figured people were not going to like. I ended up switching one just because I think it'll be my honorable mention, so we'll get to that. But my first guy is the beloved Derrick Henry, and this goes to the same thing that I was talking about when we were talking about Chubb as a buy. This is a guy that hasn't caught 20 balls in a season. Last year, what he did on the ground was astounding. But, I'm playing all PPR leagues. I want a back that's going to catch the ball 35 times minimum. And at a top 30, about mid-second round or mid-third round, you're going to have to pay for Derrick Henry, and he just doesn't catch the ball. And eventually those wheels fall off, and while he has a big body, he's also really tall, so I worry a little bit about how he's going to hold up taking those hits the way he runs. He runs upright. He runs really tall. But he's a monster. Don't get me wrong. For NFL value, he's great. But when it comes to fantasy, I don't know that he can hold that, top 6 back unless you're playing in standard leagues. But I know most people are playing in at least half PPR to PPR leagues. So Derrick Henry would be my first sell. Anybody opposing me there? The silence makes me feel good.
I don't
Normally I get opposed on this one.
No, don't oppose at all. I think there's been a lot of talk if he's not going to get a long-term contract, and a lot of hype to Darrington Evans as maybe being the guy groomed to be his successor this year. So I mean, just all the stars seem to be aligning that Derrick Henry might not be in Tennessee very long either, which going to another offense could be detrimental as well.
Yeah, Derrick Henry has 57 catches in a 4-year resume. I mean, if you're in a PPR league, that just needs to scare you. So I agree 100%.
Yeah, and you're not going to run for 1,600 yards very often.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. It's So that's the kicker there. I think you get out now and you get the value, and then you capitalize elsewhere on that. Jason, you're up second.
All right, my guy is DeAndre Hopkins. He just got traded to Arizona, and I mean he's going to be learning a new system, and he's 28 years old. I think the time to sell is now. Why he's still regarded as one of the best wide receivers in the game. It's not going to be easy to sell him at getting rid of him, but you can ask for a king's ransom, and I think it's worth it.
Anybody opposed?
Yeah, I'm opposed.
I knew there was going to be some opposition on this one.
This team might be throwing 650 times this year. This is that air raid offense coming, and I mean DeAndre Hopkins is good, and I don't think there's any reason learning a new system is not going to be hard for him. He's a pro football player. He's proved it. He's done it with bad quarterbacks. And now he's going to play with a quarterback who is at, easily the second best he's played with in his career, and could be better than Deshaun Watson, if not this year, maybe next year. I mean, I think DeAndre Hopkins just extended his life as a top wide receiver going to Arizona.
Let me also add, I do think there are fair concerns with COVID and a new system and a new quarterback and all these things going on right now that he's going to start the year slow. But I don't think that's a reason to sell him. I think that's an opportunity to buy him if that does happen. So I would not sell him at this point. I agree with Rob that he's someone to have personally. I wouldn't get rid of him at this point.
Okay, I love DeAndre Hopkins. He has been my wide receiver 1, 2 for going on 4. I think this is the 4th season. And the only other one that's changed in the top 2 has been OBJ's been in there. Michael Thomas has been in there. I can't necessarily disagree, though, right? It depends on where your team's at. He's getting to that point of his career where he could start losing value, and then you couple that with the Arizona hype right now, you might be able to capitalize on that a little bit. I do think that he's got a few years, good years in Arizona, but I don't necessarily think that it's a bad sell. But if I'm competing or have a shot to compete, I want Hopkins on every roster that I've got. So that would be my only thing with it. Anthony, who you got?
Yeah, my first sell is Adam Thielen. Unlike DeAndre Hopkins, who's only 28, Thielen is 30. And we've seen wide receivers last longer than running backs. 30 isn't like that scary number like it is for running backs. But even still, Thielen is now 30. Maybe he has 1 or 2 years left. It's kind of hard to know for sure on these things. I always think back to Jordy Nelson, though. Everyone thought Jordy Nelson in 2016, 17, after that big, what do you have, like 1,200 yards or something? He had 14 touchdowns. The next year, and he just fell off the map, and his value just disintegrated. And I worry with Thielen that the same thing can easily happen. So Thielen is a guy, if you're competing and you're trying to win a championship and he's on your team, you can ride it out. But otherwise, I do not want this guy on my team. He's too old, and I am worried about him just losing value overnight.
Anybody opposed to that?
I am big time because I think he's,
Because you're a Vikings fan.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, they just traded Stephon Diggs, so I mean they don't really have much else behind, Thielen. So he's going to be seeing a ton of targets, and Kirk's going to be targeting him early and often, everywhere. They like to use him all over. So they got Justin Jefferson who came in. We'll see what happens because, I mean, they're both kind of slot players, but they could also play on the outside. Like I said, they could play everywhere. So we'll see what happens.
I have to say that I agree on the sell. The problem is what you're going to get in return, because Thielen was a sell last year, right? Before the season. He had 9 straight 100-yard games or whatever it was. I think he's had one since in 23 games or something. I don't know that he can beat the number one corner on an opposing team. I think that Diggs definitely benefited him, and he's 30. So if you can get something out of him, great. I don't know that you're gonna get anything that excites you, because I couldn't even last year going into the season in a spot that I had him. I couldn't get anybody to give me anything, and luckily, I ended up taking a deal that was bad, but ended up, I think, going to be good in the long run. But I'm trying to get out from under Thielen if I've got him anywhere.
Well,
Rob,
if you're in a league with Jason, I think you could sell him to Jason.
I need to kick somebody out. Like, I need to look at those rosters and see which player I want, and then boot that guy out of the league, and then have Jason take it over. Is what I need to do.
I'm in.
Jason, you have Anthony Miller. Send me Anthony Miller. I'll send you Adam Thielen. Rob,
I'll think about that one.
you were shaking your head.
Yeah, no, I'm out on Thielen completely. I think he's been great. He's been, an undrafted wide receiver. Just in the stats he's put up and the fantasy production he's put up, he's been great. But going to be 31 years old, deteriorating. I don't think he can be the wide receiver one, like you said, and beat that top corner. I mean, you guys have pretty much covered it. I'm out, but like you also said, what can you get for him? You got to find those Vikings fans. I feel like that's the only way you can get rid of them.
Need them Vikings fans in the league for sure.
Oh.
Rob, you finished us off there. Why don't you tell us who your first sell is?
Okay, my first sell is Leonard Fournette, coming off best year of his career. Stayed mostly healthy. Also caught 76 passes. Something that was said he couldn't do was catch the football, and he proved he can do that. But this winter things have been all about how Leonard Fournette is not going to be a Jag very long. Which is unfortunate, because I think he provides a good dimension for that team. It's probably the best offensive player they have. But this is going to be his last year. And when a guy moves teams, you just don't know where he's going to go and what his role is going to be.
Anybody opposed to selling Leonard Fournette?
I do, 100%. And I'll just use Rob's words. Last year, he had 76 catches. He's the best offensive player on their team. And if he goes to another team, he has a very good chance of being the best offensive player on that team. So, no, I'm not looking to sell Leonard Fournette unless I'm rebuilding and want to get some more long-term type assets. But otherwise, no, I think Leonard Fournette is a good player to build around.
I have to agree with what Anthony said. This guy, the amount of touches to touchdowns that he had was like, you have to be on one of the worst offenses in football to even do that. Like, you almost have to try to not get touchdowns with that many touches. And that offensive line was horrible. The efficiency isn't the Leonard Fournette problem in that offense. You can watch this dude getting hit behind the line of scrimmage every play. Bad team. I want Leonard Fournette everywhere. We know he's going to get the touches, and I agree. Obviously he's not going to get a big running back deal because running backs don't get them, but maybe somewhere like Miami next year, they're going to need a running back. Jordan Howard's a stopgap. He's not a guy that you're looking at for 3 to 4 years. There's going to be opportunity for him. There's going to be teams looking for a running back, and I think Leonard Fournette's going to get one. But the Jags were bad, man, and that just sucks for him. Jason, any thoughts on Leonard Fournette?
Yeah, if you're in a rebuild, I could see why you want to get rid of him and try to get some other assets. But if you're trying to win now, obviously he's a great player to have.
I will say, Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I thought you were
No,
done.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I will agree with that. Like if you're ever saying that you're selling a running back, like I'm not gonna argue with you about selling a running back ever, just because you never know how long they're gonna last.
Depends on your game. Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah, so true.
so yeah, I agree with that, Jason. Oh, I thought you had more. I interrupted you. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, it's all right. I mean, I don't like the Jaguars overall as an offense, but I mean, he's probably going to be on a different team next year. He's still semi-young, so I mean, he's still got plenty in the tank, I think. But you never know. I mean, he's been injured here and there, so his running style too. I mean, he looks for contact, so that kind of scares me.
Somebody changed mine. Quit editing the sheet, Rob.
I haven't changed. I haven't been editing.
Okay. Devontae Parker is my next sell. And this one is one that, kind of came out of nowhere, kind of exploded in the last 7 games of the season. And now he's a 6th round pick. A 5th round pick. I'm sorry, a 5th round pick in Dynasty. And there's no way that I can trust it. Fifth year breakouts. Now we're paying 5th round draft capital. I can't do it. I think that Preston Williams is going to take a lot of that late season Devontae Parker action that he got. I think Mike Gesicki is going to get more involved in this passing game. I cannot pay that type of price for Devontae Parker. I'd rather get out and get some value before it plummets, before he goes back to the Devontae Parker that we know and hate. So anybody there with me on Devontae Parker? Or anybody opposed? Nobody's with me, so everybody's got to be opposed, right?
Yeah,
I agree with you.
I agree with you.
I agree.
Okay, I think that's all we got to say on Devontae Parker. The chats, stop it, Rob.
Not doing anything. I did not switch it.
Somebody edited it, but that is going to be my honorable mention, so don't anybody take that. The one that was just on there. That's what I had on there to begin with, but okay, so after me is Jason, and I'm not happy with you on this one.
I mean, I could go both ways on this one. It's Jarvis Landry. He's 27 years old, and he's coming off of hip surgery. Odell had an off year last year, and Jarvis capitalized on it. So I mean, he's a solid wide receiver too. But I'd like to get out of owning him and look for something else. And I don't think he's not the greatest athlete, but he's a great route runner, and he produces. So I mean, you could get some value for him while you can. And I just think the time to sell is now.
How is Adam Thielen not a sell, but Jarvis Landry is?
Yeah, he's 3 years younger.
I just like Thielen for this year, coming into this year, and I mean, yeah, he's old, but he's gonna have plenty of opportunity and targets, and he produces when he's healthy.
So does Jarvis.
Yeah, they have plenty of weapons there.
I would want Landry way over Thielen, and Landry was 70th in our ADP, and that is just bonkers to me. I can't figure it out. The guy produces every single year. I don't think he's had worse than a wide receiver 2 season in 5 years, and he just gets shat on. Every offseason, there's reasons why Jarvis Landry isn't going to be good. Not that he's wide receiver 1, but he's consistently a wide receiver who helps your team week in and week out. Consistent. He's not the up and down guy. I just don't know why he gets shat on every offseason. He's been a sell every offseason since his 2nd year in Miami. Anybody else thoughts on Jarvis Landry?
Yeah, I don't like him as a sell at all. I mean, you said it all. He's been good every year. And he had the best connection last year of the wideouts with Baker, and obviously Odell had some injuries and stuff. But I mean, he just catches the ball a lot, and he's always outperformed the better wide receiver, supposed better wide receiver, whether that was Devontae Parker or now Odell Beckham Jr. He's always been the guy that's ended up being the wide receiver one when all's said and done.
Yeah, I can't go. Like I can't get on OBJ for last year playing with a sports hernia in first year in an offense. So I'm not gonna like compare them to there. But I mean, they're gonna throw the ball enough. Parker's still gonna be active. Anthony, people are gonna love this one.
Yeah, my second sell is Christian McCaffrey, and I know a lot of people are probably thinking, was this guy insane? Christian McCaffrey is the best player in the league for fantasy, and that's why you should sell him right now. I mean, you can. We had a trade. It was a different player. It was DJ Moore last week. Someone asked, I traded DJ Moore for what was it, like Mims and 2 firsts and 3 seconds. It's like you could trade Christian McCaffrey for let's just say Dalvin Cook and get picks on top. It's like there's so much value with this one player that you can address so many other needs on your team and still end up with another running back one on top of the deal. So for me, it's an easy deal. I don't have him in any league. If I did, I would have sold him. I did have Barkley in this offseason. He's another type of similar situation. I sold Barkley. I got back Zeke and a bunch of stuff on top. So Christian McCaffrey is my second sell for that reason.
Anybody opposed to this?
I mean, if you can get like the Triple King's ransom for him, yeah, I would sell him, but obviously in the touch limit. But I mean, I just think in most situations you're not going to be able to get what he's valued at right now, and he's clearly the best player in fantasy football. And those players are hard to sell at a price that equates to what he's producing on the field.
Okay, first off, there's people in the chat saying shit that don't need to be said. For one, I wrote an article, and this is the second article I've written on the 400 touch death of the running back. I'm just flabbergasted at the chat. 400 touches is a death sentence for running backs, and this is historical. It hasn't, nobody's faded it. Some guys have been able to, still have a decent career, but the following season, running backs play an average of 2 less games. They put out about 60% of the production and efficiency that they did the season before. You can see all the stats and everything. I don't remember all of it in the article on RotoHeat.com. Just search Curse of 400 touches, and you'll be able to see all that stuff. The other part is he's at peak value. He cannot get more valuable. It's not going to happen. And if you can sell and get that value out of him now, it's not a bad idea. These running backs don't stay at the top forever. It just, the Frank Gores and the Adrian Petersons and the LaDainian Tomlinsons are just anomalies. They're not the norm. It doesn't happen very often, and I would bet against it before I bet for it. So for that, I have to agree, CMC, sell if you can. But, again, if you're one of the top teams in your league, then you don't want to be selling them right now because you want to win that ship. So it would definitely be package dependent for me. Rob, last sell you got there.
Yeah, my last sell is going to be Todd Gurley. Obviously, he scored a lot of touchdowns last year. That was his saving grace. Behind a bad offensive line, people are talking like, hey, going to Atlanta, things are going to be so much better. And there's actually a bit of hype building around Gurley again. But the thing is, Atlanta's offensive line was worse than the Rams last year, and I don't see it getting any better. I mean, they were 26th in run blocking last year, and the Rams were 24th. So he's going to have to be touchdown dependent again. But they've got the passing weapons for the red zone, so that I don't know that the Rams necessarily had. I mean, the Rams had receivers, but not necessarily the same type of red zone weapons. Goff doesn't throw as many touchdowns as Matt Ryan throughout the years. So I just feel like it's time to get out on Gurley. And it's an opportunity with his hype building back up a little bit with this move to get some good value back for him that wasn't there through the last part of last year.
Anybody opposed to selling Todd Gurley?
Yeah, I don't really disagree with that, but I want to just kind of squeeze into the last point. I know people were mad in the chat. Who was the top running back 2 years ago? Todd Gurley. I mean, people were saying, "Hey, don't sell Christian McCaffrey. He's the best player." You know, people were saying the same thing 2 years ago for Todd Gurley. Now look where he is. So, you know, people just need to keep in mind.
Quit trying to make your point from last player and tell us what you think about Todd Gurley.
My point is you don't want to sell Christian McCaffrey 2 years too late. And while you're at a point right now where you want to sell Todd Gurley right now, that's fine. You should have done it 2 years ago.
Jason.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The time to sell was a long time ago for Gurley, but he could have a good year. I just don't see it.
I'm on the opposite side. Not really on the opposite side, but Todd Gurley's the guy that I'm going to target if I'm competing, right? And I need a running back. Todd Gurley's the guy that I'm going to target in those scenarios. I think that he can. We've seen what running backs can do in this offense, and even Devonta Freeman last year, when healthy, was valuable fantasy-wise, and he is literally half the running back that Todd Gurley is. Todd Gurley was productive when given the touches. Todd Gurley has been adamant for the last year and a half, 2 years, that it's not structural damage, it's just a pain issue with tendonitis in the knee, and that he can take 20 to 25 touches a game. He's been adamant about it. The entire Rams offense got cute. They didn't cut him because they don't like him. They cut him because, well, they gave a big deal to a quarterback that and haven't won the ship. So they had a bunch of cap casualties, and he ended up being one of them because, well, running back is replaceable no matter who they are. I mean, we've seen that time and time again as well. But yeah, I'm going to try to grab him in leagues where I'm competing. And but I'm not opposed to selling him either. So it's not like I'm saying he's a buy, but I'm not saying he's a sell either. I'm saying it just really team dependent and situation dependent for me. All right, so let's pull up here. I'm going to pull up our sells here. This is our finished list of sells. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to have an honorable mention, and we're going to go the opposite way this time. Rob, who would be your first honorable mention?
Travis Kelce. 31. Obviously, they just signed Mahomes. His value's up. He's been incredibly healthy throughout his career. But you know, at some point, that's going to end. And, you know, I just think his value is not going to be higher. And a chance to cash out on a tight end, that's a good opportunity.
I don't hate it. Anthony, who would your player be?
T.Y. Hilton, if you can. You know, it's one of those things we were talking about that earlier, like with Thielen. We don't know what you can get, but if, you know, Hilton's at that age where I think if you can still get something for him that's pretty good, then I think he's a guy to sell.
Jason.
Curtis Samuel, he had a lot of hype coming into 2019, and I think he will kind of coming into this year, but I've seen him being sold for, you know, an early second, which is a smash except for me. I'd try to get rid of him. He's still 23, but I mean, I just don't think he's ever going to become the player that everyone thought he was going to be, or even an alpha. You know, if that he gets a lot of jet sweeps and he's kind of a trick play guy, but he could still produce. You know, being young, so I don't know. We'll see what happens with him.
He would have been my honorable mention on buys if I didn't go with Anthony Miller. That's funny.
Yeah.
Mine is George Kittle, and he was almost in my main segment, but we're talking about a guy that right now has top 20 ADP at tight end, and the one thing I know is that he's not going to get more valuable. So he is peak value. We do not see tight ends in the top 18 of Dynasty. And again, this one is if you're, you have to get the right price for it. I probably wouldn't want a package. I would probably want to swap him for one of those top 25 wide receivers that are up there that have the ability to get into that top 10 overall dynasty value. Like if you could trade, let's just say like DJ Moore's right there, right? And we're just talking about the Panthers. If you can trade Kittle for DJ Moore's got that top 6 dynasty overall upside. I would be looking to do that. Tight end's replaceable. I don't care what anybody says. So that would be my guy right there. George Kittle at his value is just crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime you get a tight end that's valued like that, just like Kelsey, I mean, I think it's a good move. I was just reading something here recently about tight ends, even in like half PPR. Kelsey was barely a wide receiver 1 if you had calculated him as a wide receiver 1. Kittle and Waller, Andrews, Ertz were right around the bottom end of wide receiver 2. And by the time you get outside the top 5, you're talking wide receivers 3s and 4s. So anytime you can get value for tight ends, because there's a premium put on them, I think it's a good chance to sell.
Absolutely agree there. Okay, so we have some questions here. If you guys see any on Facebook, let me know. Going back to DeAndre Hopkins, Gerald Black and Gold Light Toes says, for a dynasty player, Hopkins is a beast. If someone is a top 5, why get rid of him? Bad teams throw the ball a lot. Bad team with a great player. For one, I personally don't think that Arizona is going to be bad for very long, so it has nothing to do with that. But two, if they're a top 5 player and you're not a top 3 team in your league, getting that value for that player can benefit your entire roster for the long term. We're talking 5-6 years now. Obviously, worry about the next 2 to 3 first, but if you get the right deal for these guys, you can help a lot of different holes on your team. So that would be why I would sell personally. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts there.
No, I agree with that. That's why I'm in the
Totally
sell
agree.
camp as well.
Jay Wall says, I'd be selling Austin
bike.
Hooper. I would be selling Hayden Hurst. That's all I'll say to Jay Wall there. I would sell the Hayden Hurst hype. Do we have any other questions? Get them in. CXK, I want to thank you for being a mod here, buddy. Thank you for timing that dude out for the nonsense he's spewing in the chat. What was that there, Rob?
Yeah, we got 2 other ones that I saw. One from Jaws here. Whedon, what rookie pick would you take right now to sell Cam Newton?
In a 1 QB?
He doesn't specify, but we're going to go with 1 QB.
In a 1 QB, I would trade him for a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, I agree. What would you pay for in a super flex though? I mean, I think that's more interesting.
Are we talking 2020 or 2021?
Yeah. I mean,
I got to know because it all varies because I know 2021, I probably want the 1st round and a half over him.
right.
So,
I was going to say a 2nd round pick in a super flex.
I
I would say mid-2nd in the super flex.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I think in both drafts for me, if I still have a rookie draft coming up this year, I think it's at least a round and a half in both that I want over him. So
Yeah,
That's just me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in one QB, I agree with Rick. I mean, third round pick if I need a quarterback. I mean, otherwise, one
Yeah, I
QB
mean,
league, he's
yeah,
too
third, fourth.
volatile. I don't see the upside myself.
Your boy here is going to be starting Ryan Fitzpatrick at the beginning of the season in leagues because I don't care about QB and one QB. Same thing about tight end. Like, I'll start Darren Fells. I don't care. I really don't. Jason, did you have any thoughts there on Cam Newton? What's it going to take? I feel like you like Cam Newton.
I'm not the biggest fan of Cam. I like the landing spot where he went, though. I mean, the Patriots, there's plenty to be had there. But I think you guys nailed it on the head with the values in both.
I mean, Tom Brady ran for like 19 yards in 20 seasons. So that'd be my fear with, like, are they going to design runs for him or are they going to try to have him throw? Because I just don't know. Cam Newton's so polarizing. He's such a great athlete. He's so great when he's running the ball. But is he going to run the ball? Or are they going to, on a one-year deal, maybe they just say, go out there and be the Cam Newton that we've always seen you be. Run the ball. If you get hurt, you get hurt.
He's gonna be back. I mean, I don't think he's in back next year. I really don't. I mean, they signed him for a one-year cheap deal. Cam Newton's just trying to prove it to get a bigger deal somewhere else. The Patriots aren't going to pay him a bunch of money to be quarterback on their team, I don't think. So, yeah, I don't think they care if he runs his legs into the ground and does what Cam does. Because worst case, he gets hurt, well, then they're going to have a better draft pick for a better quarterback next year in the draft anyway. So yeah, I agree with that.
All I can say is that anybody that thought Jarrett Stidham was going to start was bonkers from the get-go. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Do we have any other questions? You said you seen another one?
Yep, we got one more out there, and that is, what do you guys think about Darius Geis?
Oh, Geis. What are your thoughts there, Anthony? You're shaking your head.
Yeah, I considered putting him on my buy list, to be honest with you. He wasn't my honorable mention, but, at the price point, I think there's enough upside there. I mean, we talked about, James Conner and, David Johnson and Todd Gurley, like these guys. It's like Geis is different because he's younger, and while he hasn't really played in the league because of his injuries, he does have that upside where he could be the lead back. He could put together a good season, and what his price is right now, it could just jump leaps and bounds. So I think at the right price, he's a good buy, but it is risky. I'd have way more confidence in someone like David Montgomery than Geis at this point. So as long as the price was at a huge discount, that's why I would try to get Geis.
I agree with everything he said. Anybody think differently?
I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree. I do think Geis. I like Geis's upside, though. I think there's it's worth a risk, but I'm definitely not paying a whole lot for him. And what I have found is I've been trying to acquire him in spots, and guys want way more than I'm willing to pay, even with the high upside potential there if he stays healthy.
Steven says, should I sell Chris Godwin? I'm in competition to win, but think he might be at peak value. Also, what would be his worth? Starting that off, I don't dislike Godwin, but I think that his value is a little inflated. I think that air it out offense the past two seasons in Tampa Bay with all the turnovers that they threw when it was Fitzpatrick and then Winston, and then when it was Winston going 30-30 last year, we're not going to see that. I don't think they're going to throw the ball nearly as much as they have here in the past couple of years. They're not going to be trailing nearly as much as they have in the past couple of years. I think the volume goes down a little bit. I think he's still the second best receiver on that team. I think Mike Evans is the most talented. They're a little bit different though. But you got Gronk there. I could see selling for sure. But I don't think he's like a must sell. I think he does still have a little wiggle room if he gets that Edelman role and gets monster PPR numbers, then he could be even higher next year. even though there's not a lot of room to go up. Anybody else have thoughts on Chris Godwin?
Yeah, I'm not selling him. I'm a Godwin truther. I was waiting for last year since he was a rookie, and felt it was coming, and I feel like he can sustain it. Um, I, I really like him. I just don't see it as being his sell point. He's 24 years old. He's going to play this entire season, basically at 20. Well, should be this entire season here at 24. Yeah, he's February birthday. I mean, so he's got really, he's in his prime, and that's the kind of guy you want. I'm going to hold him, going to run with him, and I wish I could afford to acquire him in more places, but I don't have that kind of capital.
And that's why he's a sell. Jason.
I think he's a hold for me personally. I don't have any shares of him, but I'd be looking to acquire him if I could. And I just think the sky's the limit for the guy. I think you hit it on the head though, Rick, with what you said about their offensive, how it's going to change, and they're probably not going to throw as much, but I think he's still got plenty of talent.
Yeah, I'm definitely not saying that he's not good or anything like that, but volume and touches, all right? We say this all the time, touches equal fantasy points. And if they're not throwing like they have in the past couple years, then that volume goes down. Plus, you've added in another running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield. You've added a tight end that Tom Brady loves. And you still got O.J. Howard in the mix there too, and there's just a lot of people in there. So the volume coming down, not necessarily because of Godwin's talent, could just damage his value a little bit going forward. Again, it's one of those things where if you can trade him and get like an up and coming wide receiver that you like, plus a first rounder that you think is going to be top half of the first round next year, then it could end up being a smash. You could lose too, but that's the he's not like a hardcore sell for me. That's not what I was saying. I'm just saying that if you are selling him, you can get a good price for him, and it may be the best price you ever get for him.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the key. I think that's the key because he's almost at top value, I think. And I said I'll sell Christian McCaffrey, right? I'll sell my dog. If my dog can get me some value, let's go. So I don't care who it is. I'll sell whoever it is.
This dude would sell his mom if it got him the right price.
Yeah, give me a third.
Give me a third. I'll give you my mom. Give me a third.
I just on the point about how much they're gonna pass. Will they need to throw as often? No, probably not. From a score standpoint, but I mean, we have no reason to have that much faith in the running game. It's Keyshawn Vaughn, a rookie, who I'm high on, and then Ronald Jones, who just hasn't really proved a whole lot thus far. That also, Tom Brady over the last 6 or 7 years has thrown only. Actually, over the last 10 years, has only thrown under 570 passes one time, and it was when he missed 4 games in 2016 in a season. So, I mean, that 570, that's only 56 fewer passes than Jameis Winston threw last year. So, I mean, I still think there's going to be plenty of volume there for Godwin. It's just, where's it going to go with Gronk might be the bigger question for me.
The only other thing I would say to that is the value of a Jameis Winston pass, because they're all further downfield, is also greater than Tom Brady, who doesn't go down the field as much. And even though Chris Godwin is kind of the PPR guy on that team, he still gets downfield deeper than somebody like Edelman does. That would be my only thing to counter that is, while Winston throws a lot of interceptions and turnovers, his value per pass is one of the highest in the league because he just wings it. Ping! Close my eyes and wing it downfield. CXK says, I'm asking for a friend. Should they sell Miles Sanders? His value is through the roof. We got to go quick, guys.
Uh,
Anthony.
yeah, I mean, I'll sell anyone. So it kind of just depends on your team makeup.
Okay. On to Jason. His answer. Anthony's answer is yes to all sells. Jason.
I would buy him. I don't think I would sell him by any means. Prices he's a great talent, and so yeah, buy.
I'm selling, and I'm selling as fast as I can. This is a team that has had at least 4 running backs, like 5 of the last 6 years, rush for over 4.5 yards per carry. Very efficient on the ground, good offensive line. They've also had no running backs go over 200 carries. I think this guy is going to be at like 125 to 150 carries per season and 50 or so receptions, which isn't bad. But at his current value, what people are valuing him as a top 12 running back. I'm not confident in that, so I will take what I can get at that price. And as we always say, running backs replaceable, so I'll take that and sell myself. Gerald Black and Gold Light Toes says trade Pat Mahomes. 1 QB, yes. I'll just make it that simple. His value is too high, and what you can get in a 1 QB at that value, I would take that every time. Anybody else have thoughts there on Patty Mahomes?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on return. I like.
That's your answer every time.
Yeah.
You don't even count anymore. We don't even answer you. We don't even. Okay, Rob, what are you thinking?
Yeah, 1 QB still. I don't see how. I mean, Superflex, I'd be holding on to for sure.
I'm selling in Superflex if people are taking him in the top like 6 picks. Like if they're gonna give you top 6 value out of him, I'm trading him. Absolutely, never taking a quarterback that high. That's all I'll say. Superflex, Jason.
Yeah, I'd buy and hold if you have them. So that's a simple answer for me.
Buy and hold in 1 QB.
Well, in 1 QB, I would hold him. I like that a lot. I like the upside. Depends on your scoring, of course, but like you said, if you can get the value, then sure, sell the guy. But in Superflex, he's a hold, and I would not look to sell him at all.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with you, Rick, on the Superflex piece. I mean, I think Mahomes is the best player in Superflex. I would rather have him over McCaffrey or Barkley or Michael Thomas, any of those guys. So
crazy.
We can
crazy. I can't wait. I cannot wait to drop this article, drop all this knowledge on you fools for quarterbacks and how they are, like, the difference between Patrick Mahomes and the value you're getting with somebody 5 rounds later like Russell Wilson is just immensely it's the same. You're just paying way too much for what you can get 3 rounds later. Such a minute difference, it's crazy. So you can look for that on RotoHeat.com coming up soon. But as Rob has seen the data that I have that goes into this article is crazy.
Yeah, I'm pumped to have that out there and be able to use that and reference that. I mean, it is nuts.
There's so much there. I don't even know how to put it together in an article form. That's why it's not out yet, because I don't know how to discuss this. Gerald Black in Gold Light Toe says, "Thanks, this was fun." Disagreeing with Anthony, and I feel like him and Rob have like. Rob might have paid this guy to come to the stream. he said J.K., but I think what he meant was Dobbins. All right. We got to call it a night. We did the hour and a half thing. We were late, so we gave you guys a little bit of a bonus. But we are going to cut that off here. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Sorry about the delay. And we will be back next Tuesday, 9:30. But in the meantime, tomorrow night, we got the Fantasy Inferno at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. That is redraft centric, so get in there, figure out what's going on the redraft side of things. Thursday night, we've got the Dynasty Hour at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And then on Friday, our first DFS show. If you're new to DFS, we're going to be covering the basics and everything, and then we've got schedules taking us all the way up to the season for each show. So keep an eye on that. Tomorrow I will be dropping 2 more player outlook videos, so make sure you keep an eye on YouTube. Make sure you have that notification bell smashed. Like, subscribe, always share your comments, anything you got to say. We're here to listen, and make sure to check out RotoHeat.com. Any last words, fellas?
Later.
No, that's all. If you ever want to argue with me in the group and on Facebook, just tag me anytime. I'm happy to share you my knowledge.
Thanks again, everybody.
All right,
Like, subscribe to the channel. Do it right now. You're all saying thank you. Good stuff. We got it coming every night of the week. 5 streams per week.